about something that could be worse than a recession. I haven't seen this yet, but I definitely want to have a conversation because it's on one of the opposing networks. Here's Ray Dalio, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it popping.
Welcome back. And joining me now is Ray Dalio, the founder of the world's largest hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates. He is also the author of the new book, How Countries Go Broke. It's out in June. Mr. Dalio, welcome to Meet the Press.
Y'all don't know who Ray Dalio is? Ray Dalio is a beast. When Ray Dalio speaks, we want to listen. Dude made a lot of money. One of the smartest men and some of the best books that I've ever read.
Thank you. Good to be here. Just call me Ray.
Okay. Well, Ray, I'll take you up on that. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your perspective. As I just said, you did found the world's largest hedge fund. You have been in this field for more than 50 years. It's worth pointing out to our viewers, I think it's important to note you consider yourself to be apolitical. And you say that...
Have y'all noticed, and I'm going to just say this before we get into what he's about to say, that I don't want anybody to ever criticize me or anybody else that's hustling, getting multiple jobs, having multiple streams of income, and working until our 90s. I don't want nobody else to say nothing. These guys be putting out books. They be working. They be the CEOs of their company. They never stop. And these guys be multi-billionaires and they never stop. Nobody, listen, to work is just to be a man. To be productive is to be a man. I don't want nobody sitting here criticizing anybody that's getting to the bag and grinding and hustling. If Ray Dalio can do it, if Warren Buffett can do it, if Tim Cook can do it, if all of these people can do it and they decide, listen, I'm not ready to retire, I'm just going to work until I croak, don't nobody say nothing to me. Keep your little short dreams to yourself. We got bigger things that we want to accomplish. Let's get into what he has to say.
That the tariff problem is a symptom of a much greater problem. What do you mean by that?
There's a financial problem. There's an imbalance problem. There are basically 5 big forces through history that drive everything. First, there's the money, credit, debt, economic cycle in which there's a building up of debt in a cyclical way that becomes too large, and we're going to have problems. We're going to have a government debt problem. Maybe we can get into this. The second big force through
He just said it. Hold
is
on.
the internal conflict force. The left and the right, differences in wealth and values causing a conflict.
The biggest problems, first problem he said is that we got a debt problem in the United States of America. This is the thing that Elon Musk is trying to solve for while you got all of these crazy people protesting on the streets every day, funded by George Soros, allegedly. The first thing he said is we got a debt problem in the United States of America that we need to solve for. The second thing he says is we have a cultural problem where we continue to clash, and I'm sure he's going to add the context.
That we're seeing it changing our political order. So the first is changing our monetary order. The second is changing our political order internally. And then the third is the great world order, how countries deal with each other. When there's a rising power, challenging an existing power. And now we are going from multilateralism, which is largely an American world order type of thing, to a unilateral world order in which there's great conflict. And the other 2 factors all through history have been acts of nature, droughts, floods, and pandemics. And number 4 is technology changing. And how they are coming together are the main forces behind this. For example, there can't be imbalances anymore in that environment.
Do you think that President Trump's tariffs are exacerbating what you are describing, this complicated mix of challenges that the world is facing?
I think it's just a function of how well they're handled. You know,
when the difficulty of getting with these biased reporters is that it makes it hard for them to actually ask good questions. Because A, I'm not sure if they really even understand what Ray Dalio was saying. But B, because they are so biased, they're asking a question slanted, trying to bait him or goat him into answering it from one lens instead of just trying to understand exactly what the problem is. She's trying to get him to say, hey, no, Trump's tariffs are exacerbating the problem. He's saying, listen, it's not the tariffs that is the problem. It is, we have to just pay attention to how things are being handled and then we react accordingly. But when you have a biased reporter that asks questions slanted, but not objectively, it makes it much more difficult as an interviewer, or it makes the interview more difficult to consume.
It's a reality that it's a desire to bring in tax revenue from that. It's a reality that we would like to build manufacturing and jobs here. This is a reality. That's how that's done, whether that's done in a practical way, whether that's done in a stable way, whether that's done with quality negotiations in which that's a mutual problem, or whether that's done in a chaotic and disruptive way that produces great conflict, makes all the difference in the world.
Based on what you're seeing right now, do you think that these tariffs are being carried out in a practical way or a chaotic way?
I think we'll see. So far, very disruptive. So far, very disruptive, right? And so we don't know what the numbers are. But that could be part of a process, right? It depends where we are at the end of the 90 days. Because what was put there is like throwing rocks into the production system. And those impacts would be enormous in terms of the efficiency of the whole world. Great cost.
I want to ask you about something that's on a lot of people's minds, your predictions for the future. And I want to start with the R word. I know you think this is just a piece of it. Of course, I'm talking about a recession. Do you think it is likely that the United States will dip into a recession because of President Trump's tariffs?
You see how she added that last part on there? Instead of saying, hey, do you think that it's a possibility that we can ever dip into a recession? And then right at the end, right when he was about to answer, because of President Trump's tariffs. Listen how she played it.
I think this is just a piece of it. Of course, I'm talking about a recession. Do you think it is likely that the United States will dip into a recession because of President Trump's tariffs?
I think that right now, we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about
y'all got an
something
earthquake over there
worse.
on the West Coast? It's an earthquake happening over there on the West Coast. Keep me up to date. Keep me informed.
In a recession, if this isn't handled well. A recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP, and whether it goes slightly there, we always have those things. We have something that's much more profound. We have a breaking down of the monetary order. We are going to change the monetary order because we cannot spend the amounts of money, so we have that problem. And when we talk about the dollar and we talk about tariffs, we have that. We are having profound changes in our domestic order, how ruling is existing, and we're having profound changes in the world order. Such times are very much like the 1930s. I've studied history, and this repeats over and over again. So if you take tariffs, if you take debt, if you take the rising power challenging the existing power, if you take those factors and look at the factors, those changes in the orders, the systems, are very, very disruptive. How that's handled could produce something that is much worse than a recession, or it could be handled well. Let's take the debt situation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, very quickly, because I want to be very specific about what you mean. You're saying worse than recession. You're saying
why is she interrupting him? Why don't she let him finish his thought? Like, you don't want to interrupt Ray Dalio. You want to let him talk and you want to let him explain himself. And this is why I think that everything is an agenda. You know what I'm saying? Like, let him cook. Let him go into it.
It's reminiscent of the 1930s. We should tell our viewers you correctly predicted the 2008 financial crisis. What is your prediction for where the country is headed right now?
Right now, we're at a juncture. Let's take the budget. If the budget deficit can be reduced to 3% of GDP, it will be about 7% if things are not changed. If it could be reduced to about 3% of GDP, and these trade deficits and so on are managed in the right way, this could all be managed very well. I believe that members of Congress should take the pledge, what I call the 3% pledge, that in one way or another,
Nope, they're
that
not
they
going to
will
do
get
it.
that budget deficit down to that number. If they don't, we're going to have a supply-demand problem for debt at the same time as we have these other problems. And the results of that will be worse than a normal recession.
Did you just hear what he said? She tried to ask him about, she tried to throw Trump under the bus, and he redirected the question, and then he also answered it differently. He said, listen, we need to get Congress to take a pledge because Congress is the ones that control the purse strings inside of the United States of America. Thank God now we have a Republican-led Congress. He said we need Congress to take the pledge to reduce our spending as a country. We have to reduce our spending. I don't know if people understand how important this is. All right. I like to break it down from a C student's perspective. So let's do it like this. You realize that y'all have upcoming things inside of your household, right? The kids are going to be going to college. You trying to pay off the student loans of everybody, right? It's you got to get the roof done. The windows going to have to be done. Because you're going to have to make some costly repairs to your home in order to ensure that everything is good, right? But because you gave your girl a credit card and you share finances with her and stuff like that, and she just keep hiding purchases, but she keeps spending it. She nickel and diming you to death, right? Because she's a part of Congress. She's Congress. Her and the kids is Congress. The kids got a card. You got a card. You oversee the household, so you're the president. And you got to sign in the legislation, whatever. But the Congress keep on spending money, and they just spending it. And next thing you know, you got debt up to eyeballs. You got $100,000 in debt, and you don't have no ability to pay it off the instance in that month. So now you got to start paying interest on that debt. Now you're paying $2,000 a month in interest alone. You're paying $2,000 in interest alone because now you don't feel like you can get ahead. Because every little dime that you do, everything that you do, and here's the worst part about it. You told her that we got a problem. Hey, listen, we need to cut our spending. We need to start knocking down this debt so that I ain't getting charged all of this interest. And if we don't knock it down, and the kids going to have to take out student loans, we're going to take out more debt. Everything's going to collapse. I'm not going to be able to get the roof done, the house, and all of this stuff. And my credit is going down because my credit utilization rate is up so high. And she said, okay. We're going to go ahead and do it. We're going to go ahead and take care of business. And then she keep on spending. And then you go to her and you say, hey, listen, I asked you not to spend no money. What is going on? Well, the kids needed new shoes. That's USAID. And Sarah, she wanted to go on a trip. Social Security fraud. She's telling you how we can't survive or we have to keep on doing things that we're not supposed to do. And you, as the president of your household, is saying, listen, we are going to be homeless. Property taxes is coming up. We about to have leaks in the roof. We got to stop spending. We got to stop doing what we going. Well, but I already promised my girlfriend that I was going to go on a trip. So what you saying? We can't go on this trip no more? And now you stuck between a rock and a hard place. Is that a better explanation for you guys, except it's on a national level and we are facing a existential crisis because we're paying 1 to 2. See, y'all don't really, because these numbers are so big, it's almost like it don't relate to you. Y'all are paying, we paying $1 to $2 trillion in interest alone. Interest alone. So you trying to convince her, and you listen, I'm working with Anton Daniels. He doing this pro bono, and he telling me I need to pay off the debt. He went through my finances. That's Doge. I'm Doge, fraud, waste, and abuse. So I got to figure out where all of the holes are. And he went through and he realized that you just keep on buying purses. And honey, what is all of this Klarna and Afterpay and all of this stuff that's on my account? Because I can't get ahead if you keep on spending. What is this, honey? Anton went through our finances with a fine-tooth comb and he found that you're spending an extra this amount every single month. What is going on? That's what we're facing inside the United States of America. And next thing you know, she gonna go on TikTok and say, yeah, I had to break up my household because, he wasn't generous. Where's all of the good men at? Where's the men that love to, spoil their girls and take care of business and do this and do that? Where's all of the good men at? Where my ballers at? These men are stingy out here. I'm telling you the cycle. Where's the good men?
And just to follow up on that point, worse than a recession, you're talking about the 1930s. What specifically are you warning of? Are you saying that it could be as bad as a depression? What's your biggest fear?
The value of money. What is a storehold of wealth? That is a bond. In other words, one man's debt is another man's assets, bondholders. And so we're going to be in a situation where if that storehold of wealth is in jeopardy because there's too much supply and demand and so on, and we have a monetary inflation, we will have great disruptions. And that could be like the breakdown of the monetary system in 71.
And I'm about to go and talk to, you know what? I'm about to go and divest. Because, these black guys, they keep on talking about their budget. White man is generous. White man is super generous. Because they spending. And then you're going to see women in the comments, where you meet them at? Where they at? Girl, you got to go to the Four Seasons Hotel. Go sit at the bar. I reviewed a video yesterday where a woman said, if a man is not generous, if a man is broke, he hates you. Well, what if you're the reason that he broke? Does that count too? Don't worry about it. Shout out to Ray Dalio.